Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Joey Galvez, one half of your host of Explain Yourself, and I want to let you guys know about a really cool book from our friend of the show, Eli Shockey. This one is called The Greylock, and it's a story where magic is a commodity. Potions are sold at corner stores. Orcs and dwarves earn a living in cubicles, not on the battlefields. But there are those who resist the house's magic's laws. Branded a criminal and forced to live as a wand for hire, there is a spell slinger they call the Greylock. Check this one out. You guys can pre-order issue 3 right now with code JAN241939, and make sure you guys are heading over to your favorite LCS and letting them know that you want Greylock number 3, and maybe pick up the first 2 issues. You could do that at the Scout web store. So make sure you guys are grabbing the Greylock number 3, JAN241939 at previewsworld.com.
Okay, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of ALL2REELTOO.
Hello.
My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me via Facebook Messenger through the technology of the interwebs, of the internet, the great thing that was created by Al Gore. Oh, wait, no, he didn't. He never said that.
Nope.
No, he didn't. He never said that.
He never said that. That was propaganda.
Anyways, how are you today, Matthew?
I'm doing okay. I guess.
You guess?
I guess so. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I had the pleasure the other day of talking to Jim O'Hare, who people will know from his portrayal of Jerry Gergich on Parks and Recreation, the 7-year-long television series that aired on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It was a great interview. Very funny guy. Just a joy to talk to, honestly. More than anything. I don't know. We talked about a lot of cool things about his career and the world in general.
And about life, and about the universe, and about life.
Yes, the cereal. Oh, wait, no, we didn't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
A life cereal is good.
You didn't talk about life? Well, technically you did, because everything's part of life, so...
Yes. Everything's part of cereal?
Yeah. Kind of. Yes. We're all just living in a cereal bowl right now. And God hasn't put his cereal in yet and hasn't eaten us yet, so...
We're just two lost souls swimming in a cereal bowl year after year?
Yes.
Wait.
No.
What?
I don't think so. I'm not high. I swear I'm not high.
I'm not either. I'm just tired, and
me too.
I got a Punch Drunk Love. Wait, no, that's a movie.
And
a Punch.
Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, it is a good movie.
Yes,
it's one of the good Sandman movies. One of the good ones. Mm-hmm. One of the good ones.
Yes.
Happy Halloween.
Yep.
Yep.
So anyways, Jim O'Heir, yeah, he tells us a lot about his history and all the great things, and he's basically, if you haven't seen Parks and Recreation, you have seen Jim O'Heir in something, because he's guest starred in like every sitcom of the like 90s there were, and the early 2000s as well. So not to mention a lot of other things, and done several movies, including one we talk about, which I will try to find a link to, called Middleman, which he did back in 2017, which sounds amazing, and I got to check it out soon. So, and you guys all should too. But right now, here is my interview with Jim O'Heir. Just to start things off, how are you dealing with all the stuff in the world right now with what 2020 has brought us?
Yeah, it's weird. I really was looking forward to 2020. I love the number 2020. I'm an even number kind of guy for whatever reason. I'm that guy. And I thought 2020 just sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So I was on board for 2020, really on board. And it began great. I'd been recurring on a show, and we did a whole bunch of episodes in January and February. I went to, what did I do? I went to Denver, and I skied for the first time in 30 years, and I did really well, like shockingly. I just assumed I'd be in a body cast by the end of the day, and I wasn't. So it just felt like, okay, 2020, you're everything I thought you were going to be. And then this little thing called a pandemic came out of nowhere, and it just knocked it all down. And also, I don't know how political your interviews get, but I'm a political guy, and what's been happening, in the past 4 years has had me terrified.
Oh yeah, me too.
Now we're coming down. Yeah, I mean, just beyond to think that there's people who think to have this crazy man in charge is okay. I'll never understand, but whatever. That people can do whatever they want. So I've been doing everything I can to make. I've been sending out things and doing charities, all sorts of stuff to do my part to help make this nightmare end.
Yeah.
So politically, and then with the pandemic, it's been a shit show.
Yeah.
It's just been a shit show.
Yeah. Can't wait for it to be over, and hopefully the pandemic ends sometime sooner than later. But yeah, I'm kind of worried about it. But yeah, with the way, like you said, with the way that the president has been dealing with it and everything is not really necessarily the best either. So
well, he hasn't been dealing with it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
He has. Other countries have dealt with it. Please, I don't want to go on a rant, but had we done what was necessary, this would all be behind us, or at least close to being behind us. We're just beginning. From when I read yesterday, the wave is hitting again. And anyway, I can go on and on. I'm just praying. I'm literally praying to God that November 3rd changes everything. So we'll see. Only time will tell. But I am hopeful. I will say that. But I was also hopeful 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I got quite the surprise. So
all of us
I leave nothing to chance now. Yeah.
So now on like better subjects about you. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. It's pretty much anything else is better. So yeah, go for it.
So just for my listeners, how did you get started in entertainment?
It was weird. I went to my embarrassing story that I do tell is when I left high school, I was a pretty good student. I always say I think I was in the top 10% of my class, so no genius, but a good student. So of course I expected to go to college. Certainly my family expected me to. So that was the plan, but I did not have a clue what I wanted to do. I mean, not a clue. So I went to college and I declared that I was going to be an accountant. Now, people would be like, well, why are you doing that? The only reason I said it was because some of my buddies said they were going to be accountants. So I was basing my career on what, my buddy had. It was ridiculous. So cut to the chase. I go to college for that. Thankfully, I went to Loyola in Chicago, and thankfully college did exactly what it's supposed to do. I started taking other things that interested me, and I started working at the radio station at Loyola. It was called WLUW. I believe that was it. And it only had like a 12 block radius, so it can only be heard, I don't know how many people could have even heard it. But I was like, damn, I kind of really like this. So next thing you know, that's where I put my sights. And I went and got, at the time, you used to have to get a license to become a DJ. So I went to a broadcasting school and I did that. And then I got my first job in some little town in Indiana called Rensselaer. And I was the kind of mid-morning guy, and it was awful and wonderful all at the same time. They paid me, I'll never forget, when I got, after taxes and everything, my first check, you work 60 hours a week, and I made $120 take home.
Wow.
Now, yeah, my rent was $4 something. So do the math on that. It just doesn't work.
No.
But I was paying dues and whatever. The guy who owned it was crazy. He'd punch holes in walls. But so as much as there was a lot of negatives, I learned so much. And there were some great people that I did work with. So one time, it's a weird little thing. The secretary came in during one of the commercial breaks and said, some guys on the phone wants to talk to you. And it was a little town. So it could be someone, who we had radio spots with. It could have been anybody. So I said, yeah, okay. So I talked to the guy and he goes, my daughter goes to the college nearby. So I listen to you when I drive in and out. I think you're really funny. And if you ever, look to change things up, you should consider Second City in Chicago. It was just like this nice little conversation. Of course, I'd heard of Second City. It's iconic.
Yeah.
So I, thank you, whatever. And that was it. So about a year later, it was time to leave. I'm like, okay, this has been crazy. I learned a lot. Now it's time to move on. And that conversation stuck with me. And I went to Chicago, back to Chicago, and I started taking classes at Second City. And like I can tell you, I know the exact moment where, it's too dramatic to say my life changed, but I do know the moment when my first day in class, and in the old days, you used to train on the stage that they performed, where Belushi had performed and, Murray and all the biggies.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, I got on that stage for the first time and I got my first laugh. And this feeling of, I don't even know, just something came over me and I was like, oh God, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. And never, ever thinking it would pay a bill. I mean, how the hell would that ever happen? But I knew I loved it. So I kind of immersed myself in classes there. And then down the road, 6 of us just kind of formed our own little world called White Noise. It was just these 6 little white kids. And we formed our own world and we started doing our own comedy shows. And they started getting a lot of attention in Chicago. So that was really exciting. And then I realized I'm really liking this whole, because we did a lot of written sketches. It wasn't just improv. And I was really liking the acting part of it. So then I started taking acting classes, and then I started auditioning at other legit theaters in Chicago. And next thing you know, they're casting me in this, they're casting me in that. And I knew I had found what I wanted to do. But again, not thinking it would ever pay my bills. Because theater in Chicago is amazing. There's so much great theater in Chicago. But it's, even if you're an equity member, a union member there, it's a tough living. It's not, the dream is if you're going to do that in Chicago, that you would get your equity card, you get to do 2 or 3 shows a year. Maybe a commercial would come through during the year, but it was tough. So it seemed like that was either going to be a hobby for me, or if I was going to be taken serious, I should try Los Angeles. And at the time, I was also working a full-time job during the day to pay the bills, because certainly theater wasn't paying them. And so we had done this crazy, crazy show in Chicago called Stumpy's Game. And it had blood and puppets. And I got killed in an incinerator. And I'm screaming. I ate 10 Twinkies every show.
Oh, geez.
It was so ridiculous that I can't even begin to tell you. But pretty cool, too. For the time, really amazing. We would shoot, I would run off stage, a screen would pop up and I'd be a cartoon. I mean, it was intense. It was really, for the time. I mean, nowadays people can do that stuff with their iPhones, but we're talking, wow, when was that? That was around 90. So, wow, 30 years ago, dear God. But anyway, so for the time, it was pretty high tech, and this show became a cult thing in Chicago where people were lined up waiting to get in, and it ran forever, and it was pretty cool. So we decided let's give it a shot in LA. If there's ever a crazy enough town that might do it, it's LA.
Mhm.
Plus, some of us had wanted to try LA anyway. So we loaded up the truck and we moved to Beverly because we literally, my friend Pat and I put everything we have in a truck, some big Hertz Penske truck, including the sets for the show. And we just hauled our butts out to Los Angeles. Somebody had set us up with an apartment, as far as, so because I didn't know anything about LA. I know nothing, I knew nothing. So we brought the show out to LA, and it did the same thing it did in Chicago. It just took off. And the gift for me that happened was because it was me with puppets, basically. There were 2 other humans in it, but they were kind of just in and out real quick, where my role was, I was, the lead role in this thing. And because of this, because it was getting attention, agents started coming to the show. Because the toughest part in LA when you move here is getting a damn agent or getting a manager, somebody who can represent you. Because without that representation, you can't get an audition. I mean, it's that catch-22. They're like, well, what have you done for me lately? Well, what can I do for you if I can't get a chance to do it? It's that whole it's ages old. Many have dealt with it. But the miracle for me was they would come and see the show, and then I'd get phone calls saying, would I meet with them? And so within, I think the show opened, I'm going to say, oh gosh, October. I feel like we were going to go October until the holidays. We ended up going till March. And so by the time the show was ended, I had an agent and I was ready to go. And they sent me out and I started booking pretty quickly. And the blessing, whatever you want to call it, for me is that since the day I moved here, August 4th, 1994, I've never had to do anything other than be an actor to pay my bills. Now, that being said, some years were rough as hell. You know what I mean? Like, it was not all like, man. Some years were rough, but in general, there was always enough. Yeah. There was always enough. And then I was, they used to tease that I was king of the guest stars. I'd been on like all these different shows, and then a show like Parks comes along, and that kind of changes everything, because now you have a gig that ran for 7 years. That changes everything. So that's how it all kind of happened out of Chicago.
Yeah, I know there are times when I'm watching an old sitcom or something and I'll see you pop up and I'll be like, oh, that's Jim O'Heir. Something like, I think I see that from time to time.
It was either Kimmel or I don't know, Fallon, and one of the one of the talk shows. The first thing they said to me is, Jim, what show haven't you been on? Because it really got, and believe me, it was great. I became the guy that people would see me on the street and go, oh, you look so familiar. Because, and I always thought that's a good career. Like, if people think you look familiar, that means you're working enough that you're out in front of their faces. And of course, then Parks happens, and then now it's, craziness.
Yeah.
But, but so I was very lucky. I did a lot of shows before Parks.
Yeah. Speaking of Parks, how did the audition process go for that?
Dude, let me tell you, the word came out. Amy Poehler was getting, at the time, it was called the Untitled Amy Poehler Project. It didn't have a title. It didn't have Parks and Rec at that time. And so, everybody, we knew it was going to be a hot show because NBC said it's not going to be a pilot. We're going to make 6 of them. So they were already showing confidence. And Amy had just come off SNL all those years. And of course, she's, crazy talented. So everybody wanted in. The producers really had a really good idea of who they wanted for certain characters from the beginning, but the network said, you got to give us lots of choices. So they saw everybody. So I went in and read for Ron Swanson, which is so ridiculous. The thought of anyone other than Nick Offerman playing Ron Swanson is so silly that anyway, we all know what he did with that role. But that's what happened. And I walked into that audition area. There were faces you knew from shows, people that you've seen for years. This was a hot property. So I do the audition. And here's the thing. And I always tell, people when I give talks to young actors trying to come up, the one thing I always say, and it's something I've lived by, I did it in Chicago. I've done it since I've been here in LA. I never, ever walk into a room unprepared, because you don't know what they're going to be doing down the road. Many most times I can walk in a room and I'm not right for the role, and I walk in and visually they're like, oh no, this isn't going to work, even if I give them the greatest performance ever. But if I do give them the greatest performance ever, when a role comes up that they can see me in, I'm going to be at the front of the line. And so that was my only goal that day. I wanted to do a good audition. And believe me, I also say this, as much as I say I've never gone in unprepared, I've never. I have screwed up. I mean, I have screwed up auditions like you can't believe. I've gotten my head when I got there, or one time I'll never forget, I walk in and there's Ron Howard. And it just threw me. It just took me out of my space of, because I was, in my actor mode. I was ready to go, and I walk in and there he is. And he couldn't have been kinder. He couldn't have been more gracious, but it just threw me off. And so I did a terrible audition. I've seen him since, and we have joked about it, but whatever. Yeah. So my only goal that day was to do my best version of what I thought Ron Swanson was going to be and do a good audition. So I go in and I do that. And I had some fun conversation with the producers, because also I knew these producers were from The Office. And I thought, you know what? They're going to be putting guest stars. They're going to have guest stars. These people are going to have other shows down the road. I just want to impress them. That's all. So I leave and I thought, yeah, you'll never get this, but I think you made a couple of people who think you got something going on. So I would say probably 2 weeks later, I could be wrong about the timeline, we get a call. My agent calls me and says, they want to see you again for Parks and Recreation for a different role. I want to know if you'd consider the role of Jerry. And I said, well, yeah, of course. So they send me the material and I go in a couple days later. Same thing. I go into the waiting room and there's all these faces again. And I could tell they don't know what they want, because there's big guys, there's little guys, there's tall guys, there's fat guys, there's skinny guys. There's like everybody is there, which happens a lot. Like they haven't figured out the character yet themselves. So I go in and I do it. And, again, hopefully to the best of my ability. We had a great conversation, just BSing. I knew Steve Carell, who was on The Office in Chicago. One of the last voiceover gigs I did was with Carell. So we were chatting about Steve and just laughing about different things. So apparently what happened, I found out later, I didn't know this. When I left the room, Greg Daniels said to Mike Short, let's put him at a desk, it'll work out. Now, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that I had left that room with the job. But about a week later, I get a call from my agent. They said, they want to offer you the role of Jerry in Parks and Recreation. But it was not a series regular, and they were very honest. They said, we don't know what's going to happen with this character. It might feel like nothing, and maybe nothing will happen, and then he'll be gone. We just don't know. But we have 6 characters, because at the time, the regulars were Leslie Knope, Ron Swanson, April Ludgate, Tom, who else was there? Ann Perkins. Who else am I forgetting? And Paul Brandanowitz, Art Brandanowitz, Paul Schneider. So those are your 6 regulars, and you have to cater to them. Those are your regulars. So my agent said to me, you might not want to do this, because you might end up feeling like you're doing background work. And believe me, there's nothing wrong with background work. But at that point in my career, I wouldn't be doing background. I'm a guest star. At that point, I wasn't even doing co-stars. I don't think it was either a guest star or a lead role. So, but to me, it took no time at all, because this is, you guys remember what they did to those characters on The Office: Kevin, Malone, Phyllis, Stanley, like all these amazing side characters. So I thought, I got to take this risk. To me, there was no downside, because also they were paying me like a guest star every week. So I thought, well, if they want me to sit around and pay me a guest star money, I'm good, and then if they dump me, they dump me, and then it, whatever. But I'll never forget because we did the first 6 episodes, and I get a call. We're totally done shooting. And I get a call, and they said, the network needs some promo stuff and stuff for beginning and ending of the episodes. Everyone's out of town. We were thinking you and Amy could do something together. What if we threw something together? Would you be available? Well, yeah. Well, it turns out that was kind of my big audition that I didn't even know about to become a series regular, because they put me and Amy in a forest with some kids, and they just let us improv. And, Amy's the queen. So believe me,
Yeah.
I can't ever think I could compete with her. But I held my own. We had a lot of laughs. And apparently that day, they were like, yeah, he needs to stick around. So by the next season, I don't know, by episode 3, they had already given me my own episode. And so all of a sudden, the next thing you know, I'm a series regular. Because, at first I wasn't, Retta wasn't, Chris Pratt wasn't. My God, Adam Scott and Rob Lowe weren't even there at that point. So there was still a lot of changes happening. And the show, for diehard fans, they know that there were big changes from season 1 to season 2.
It feels like a different show in some ways.
Feels like a different show. And it's kind of bad because I tell people, because I love season 1. There's great stuff in there. But I do tell people, start with season 2, go back to the season 1, because you'll you know what I'm saying, because what happened, they admitted it. Leslie was coming across too much like Michael, from The Office. Yeah. And that was never the goal. That was so it looked like, it's a ripoff and we don't need that. And anyway, but by season 2, they pieced it all together.
Yeah. And it found its own voice, and
it found its voice.
Yeah.
Do you have dreams that you want to achieve but are scared to do so due to self-doubt, fear, and other people's criticism? I have just what you need. You need a dose of the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, where I interview guests that will motivate and inspire you to stop at nothing to achieve your dreams. And always remember, if you believe, you can achieve.
The Living the Dream with Curveball podcast is available on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, everybody. Why don't you give the old Black Lincoln Collective podcast a listen? We're funny, we're fat, and we're here 24/7 at blcpodcast.com. Anytime you want to listen, anywhere, all your favorite podcast apps. Of course, we have a YouTube channel where you can stream live with the show. Check out our shorts. We're funnier the less you hear of us. That's been a Black Lincoln Collective podcast at blcpodcast.com.
What's been your favorite time acting in anything so far, that you've done?
Well, God, it sounds so pathetic, but Parks, it lasted 7 years.
Yeah.
Now I am, you'll be shocked to hear this, Mike, but I am 58. Now I know you're thinking I'm 30, 35. No, I am 58. And like we said, I've done a lot of shows before Parks. I've done many shows after. And I'm so lucky. I'm like the luckiest guy because I love what I do. I love it more than you can even believe. You put Jim O'Heir on a set and you have a happy Jim O'Heir. It's just who I am. I told you, I found what I love when I found it and whatever. That being said, each show is different and each set is different. The lead of the show kind of sets the tone.
Yeah.
So you have a lead who's walks in and kind of a crabby person or whatever. It just kind of trickles down. We had Amy Poehler, who is, yes, she's funny and talented and pretty, but all the basics we know about her. She's also incredibly kind and incredibly caring. And that is what our set was for 7 years. Never in 7 years did I hear a raised voice on other than when I say that, I mean, the first AD, I was, okay, back to one. I mean, normal raised voice. I mean, I never heard a raised voice out of frustration or anger in 7 years. I have been on shows for 1 week where I'm like, holy crap, these people are going to kill each other. You know what I mean? So I've seen it the other way. So Parks, because of the length of it, 7 years of knowing that that's what I had every day. The crew, that's family. You're together 10, 14 hours a day, depending on what you're shooting. And I always knew how much I loved it when one day, every week, the week before the next week that you're going to shoot an episode, you get your day of days, which shows what days you'll be working because we shot single camera, which meant you didn't always have to be there. And I didn't like the days I had off. I was like, oh, damn, I'm off on Thursday. Man, I got paid either way. I was a series regular. So I should have been thrilled. Like, hey, I'm off. I wanted to be there. So it has to be Parks.
Yeah.
It has to be Parks. Now, I've had other individual experiences that have been so amazing and so incredible, but I say Parks because of the duration of wonderfulness. I mean, 7 years of that's kind of unheard of.
Yeah. Did you could you tell like early on that the show was going to have like a following, or did you think it would not last that long?
I didn't think it was going to last. And the only reason I say that is because after the first 6, we got a lot of flack, because, it's The Office. It's just a ripoff of The Office and all that kind of stuff. And so we're like, are people going to stick with us? And let me tell you, we fought every year to stay on the air. We always thought we were being canceled. And then Amy found out, she didn't tell us till afterward, thank God. Amy found out that after our 4th season, the big muckety mucks were on a plane leaving New York. By the time they were up in the air, we were canceled. We were off the schedule. By the time they landed, we were back on. So we technically had been canceled for a very brief time. They never shared it with any of us because it never officially happened. But they pulled us for that flight for whatever reason. And also, we were originally with a different president of the network. And when a new guy comes in, it's very normal. They want their own stamp. And we weren't Greenblatt stamp.
Yeah.
But I think what happened, the reason we survived, we became critical darlings. I mean, Newsweek called us the show of the year. We won a Peabody Award. I think if he had pulled us just to put his own stamp on things, it would have looked really bad. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know what was in his head, but I think it would have looked really bad that he pulled us when we are, this critical darling. And then it turns out we were it's funny because I've heard Jerry Seinfeld tell the story too. Seinfeld stayed on the air because, at first they were, I think, the very last on the rating. They were just terrible. But they did well in households of $100,000 or more. So they were good to advertisers. Like, that's a good advertiser market. Well, it turns out we were too. We were people who were watching apparently had good household incomes. So I think between that and the fact that we were the critical darling with the press, I don't think he could pull us. That doesn't mean every year we didn't sweat it out, because we sweated it out every year. We'd be on texting each other. What have you heard? What? And Amy, because we'd all be looking at Amy. Well, what do you know? What? She goes, you guys, I haven't heard anything. Because, I'm thinking she's getting the first call. But our producer, Mike Shore, who co-created it, he'd be texting with us. You guys, the second I hear you. Anyway, so it was a yearly thing. I think out of 7 seasons, there were it's possibly 3, but definitely 2 that we knew we were coming back. And let me tell you, there is nothing better than when you're on your summer hiatus, knowing you have a job to go to.
Yeah.
It's funny how you travel a little more, you spend a little more, because otherwise, are we coming back? Am I going to have a paycheck in December, in January? Anyway, so it was crazy. We never, other than, I'm pretty sure it was just 2 seasons. Other than 2 seasons, we sweated every single year.
Yeah, Mike Schercher has, pun intended, become pretty prolific lately too. I mean, I think he's probably one of the best writers in television and creators.
I think he's brilliant, and I don't use that word on a lot of people.
Yeah,
I think he's brilliant, and I'll tell you the reason Parks, and believe me, people who are listening could totally disagree with this, but that's fine. Most shows, because I'm a big TV guy, some of my favorite series, there can be a lull, like, ooh, that was a tough season, or just the show just kind of went downhill and I was kind of done with it or whatever. In my opinion, Parks never had a bad season. No. And the reason I say that is because Mike Shore never left us. What normally happens is once a show is a hit, the producers are offered everything. They're getting offers from all over. Give us this, give us that. NBC even, give us, whatever. So Mike did do that. He did Brooklyn Nine-Nine with Dan Gore, who was one of our guys. But he let Dan Gore go with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and he stayed with us. And that is why I think we never lost the quality.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of shows, and I understand why showrunners take off. They've done a series, now they're in their 4th season, and they're like, I want something new. I totally get why they leave.
Yeah.
But Mike didn't. He never left us. And that, to me, is why the show stayed so strong, because even though we had incredible writers, Mike's voice was still there. You know what I mean? A script wouldn't be put out that he didn't have a final say over.
Yeah. Speaking of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, too, your guest appearance on that show was great. A couple episodes.
It was so much fun.
I watched that show a lot lately. I go through phases where I watch a different show to fall asleep to, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine's been the one lately, and I've probably seen that episode, the episodes with you, probably at least 10 times now. So yeah.
Well, it was so great. Yeah. Dan calls me and goes, "Listen, I have an idea. Would you want to play a Southern sheriff?" And the thing with Dan and I have a special relationship because Dan is the guy at the time who wrote the episode that they found out who Jerry was. And that's the episode when we were playing the game in the office about finding dirt on each other. I believe, what's his name was the guest star at the time. He was dating Leslie. You know, the comic, got in all the trouble.
Louis C.K.?
Louis C.K.
Yeah.
And apparently, and Jerry didn't want to play the game because he thought it just seemed a little mean or whatever. But eventually he plays along, and then Mark Brandon comes walking by, and he goes, "So I hear you have 2 unpaid parking tickets." Like, who gives a crap, you know? And he goes, "Oh, well, I heard your adoptive mother smokes pot." And he could see I was horrified. And I says, "You didn't know she smoked pot?" And I'm like, "I didn't know I was adopted." And that's when they said, "Okay, that's who he is."
Yeah.
That's who he is. Now, maybe something else would have happened and we would have figured something else out, but that's what did take. And that was Dan. So yeah. I love New Gore.
That's cool. Yeah. I think the development of the character of Jerry throughout the series was really great, and what you brought to it too. The whole how they made fun of you a lot, but it didn't seem to change the character at all or anything, or make him mean or anything, which was great.
Yeah, Mike Shore said, if we're going to keep doing this, you know, with this character, because once they realized that's who Jerry was, Mike tells the funniest stories, because he'll say in the writer's room, he'd have to say, "Okay, no more Jerry jokes." Like they were so easy to write, like, yeah, slam Jerry. And people were enjoying it, and we were the cast, we were enjoying it. So he realized if we want him to stay around, we've got to give him a reason to live. And that's how it turns out. He said to me one day, he goes, "We're thinking of giving you like a supermodel wife, like a Christy Brinkley." I'm like, "Are you kidding?" What? And then as it turns out, they got me Christy Brinkley. So, I mean, you know, there's a lot of times you'll make a list of pie in the sky that you think you put it out there, you'll never get it. They got her. And they only got her because her daughter was obsessed with the show and she begged her to do it, and kind of crazy. But, and so they gave Jerry the best home life of anybody. I mean, Jerry really, as much as he, you know, was put upon, I guess, the schlemiel schlemazel, as Ron would say, of The Office, he had a great life, and he knew what was important. He knew his family came first. As much as I think Jerry loves everybody in that parks department, he knows who he is to them, but they also had his back when it counted. And so I think Jerry had the best of everything. And let's face it, a huge penis.
Yes.
So he really had it all.
Have you been working on anything since COVID happened at all? Like been on any sets or anything since?
Well, right before COVID hit, I was doing a show called Bless This Mess on ABC. Lake Bell, Dak Shepard, Pam Grier, just great cast, having so much fun. And then we wrapped in, I feel like we wrapped the first week of March, maybe the end of February. I'm not really sure. And then the world kind of blew up, but we did have a wrap party. We wrapped on a Friday. I think the wrap party was Saturday. And then I feel like the next week, the whole world imploded. And then we were under the impression, but I've been around long enough to believe nothing until it's something.
Yeah.
That Bless This Mess had come back, and it got canceled. And we were pretty surprised. But
Yeah.
welcome to showbiz. So as far as that goes. But I was also lucky. I had booked a pilot that was going to shoot in Denver. And obviously that blew up. But they rewrote my character so that I was always on a FaceTime phone call with the other characters. So we shot it at my house.
Oh, nice.
They sent equipment. They were on Zoom, just like when we shot the park special.
Yeah.
They're on Zoom. They send you the equipment, the lighting, the rig. They talk you through it. They direct you. They do the whole thing. So I was able to do a pilot, and I've done 2 films, again, from my house. And then I did a big thing for the Peacock. Parks and Recreation recently left Netflix.
Yes.
And now we're on Peacock. And so a bunch of us were doing stuff to promote it. And anyway, so they sent cameras, and it's wild. There's a lot of rules to follow. And like they set up the rig outside, then I had to leave the room while the guys came in and set it up. And then they had to wipe it down, even though they had just wiped it down, because they have all these rules, which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm up for it if that's how they want to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. And I've had some stuff going on, which has been great. Things are coming back.
Yeah.
I have had friends who started up again and then have already shut down because a cast member or a crew member tested positive. So it all shuts down again. Pratt was lucky because he was doing Jurassic Park, but that's $1 billion franchise.
Yeah.
So they were able to fly everybody private over to London. They all quarantined for 2 weeks. I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
So when they started back, it was a clean slate. So they were able to shoot a lot. But then he was saying they were going to some island or something, but it turns out the island, there was an infection. Anyway, it screwed up a lot of people, to say the least. But it is starting to come back, but it's not fully back by any stretch of the imagination.
Speaking of Chris Pratt, did you ever imagine he would become such a huge star?
Wow. I can't say imagine this bit. I mean, he's one of the biggest stars in the world. So no, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought that about anybody that I know.
Yeah.
But to be with him and to know how kind and funny, off the cuff funny he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. But I know a lot of people like that, and they don't become one of the biggest stars in the world. So yeah, I don't know. But I will also tell you this: when he got the gig, especially the one, because he was having stuff happen before Guardians. He did Zero Dark 30 and Moneyball. Yeah. And that's the other thing about Parks that I knew how special it was. There was no jealousy. Like I remember when he told Nick and I that he got Guardians, I had tears in my eyes. Like, this is our boy. This is our boy, Chris Pratt. He's the Guardian of the Galaxy. Whether it was going to be a success or not, who knew? I mean, obviously it is, but I'm just saying. Yeah. And then I'll never forget. So we all went to the premiere of the Guardians movie. It's the first one. It was at the, what's it called now? Is it Kodak Center now where they do the Oscars? I think wherever it was, I don't know.
Polaroid or something, I think.
When it was here for a while, whatever the hell. Yeah. It's where they did the Oscars in Hollywood. Yeah. And so we're all there, and it was awesome. And before the film, they introduced the cast. And so, you're introduced in kind of order of importance, for a big feature like that. So this person, that person, this person, that person, this person, that, and all of a sudden, then they do Glenn Close, and then Chris Pratt. And I go, we got better billing than Glenn Close. Oh my God. It was just crazy. It was just crazy, crazy, crazy. Yeah. So, surprised just because that's such one in a million. Yeah. So yes, for that surprised, but for his talent, not a bit surprised. No. Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I've been a fan of his since he was on Everwood back in the day. So I know he's
got some great stories. Oh my God. I won't repeat them. It's not my business, but he's got some great Everwood stories.
Yeah. So, what, as far as movies go, what's been your favorite film to do that you've done?
Well, this one, because it was so personal, right after Parks, I did a film called Middleman. Now, the reason it was so personal is because it was written for me.
Oh, wow.
doesn't get more personal than that. And it was written by one of my best friends who I did comedy with in Chicago, who was part of Stumpy's gang, the show I brought to LA. He's a big guy in the ad business. And he had written this. What I loved about it was, for better or for worse, you're going to get labeled in Hollywood. You're just going to get labeled. I'm the big funny guy. And you know what? This paid my bills for a lot of years. So I'm okay with it. I love doing comedy. Big comedies. I love it. But I am an actor and I love doing drama and I love doing horror. I mean, there's other things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's tough to break through, but I've had, a few things that have happened over the years where I've gotten to do this dramatic thing or that. And it's always done well. And I think, oh, okay, the door is open now. And somehow it always comes back to the big funny guy. And again, I'm not against that, but you do want to do more. So that brings me this script years ago. And it was great. And so he says to me after, Parks is getting ready to shut, we knew we were going to close. The way it closed was NBC said to Amy, this is your call. We'll keep going or whatever you want to do. And Amy had always said, I want 7 years if we can get it. And so I think she was right. She didn't want people going, oh, is that still on?
Yeah.
She wanted people going, oh my God, they're leaving. And I think we nailed it. I mean, I would have done it forever, of course, because I loved every second of it. But I think it was done at the right time. So Ned sends me the script and he goes, why don't we do this? I go, dude, number one, I feel 20 years too old for this script. Because he wrote it ages ago. He goes, that's just a matter of a few rewrites. So, and the premise is the character is Jerry-esque at the beginning, but then a mental breakdown comes into play because he makes one terrible, terrible mistake by picking up a hitchhiker who it turns out is a mass murderer. And anyway, one thing leads to another. It's a very, very dark film. Oh, wow. Funny at times, horrifying at times. So he got a call from these producers who had worked with Disney, and they said, if you can get Jim attached, we'll do it. Nice. Of course, so we had this meeting. I'm still thinking it's not really going to happen, but we crowdfunded. We raised $150,000 in 30 days. And then, the money that was put in from producers. So we had not a great budget, but a decent budget. Yeah. But it was shot mostly in the desert. It was living hell, but it was, I was in every scene. I think there were 2 or 3 scenes I wasn't in. So I felt like I had the weight of the world on me, but also I wanted that because it was time to prove myself. Yeah. It's more than just the big funny guy. And we had actors who loved the script so much. Great actors. And one, Andrew J. Hawks he was on a couple seasons at the end of Once Upon a Time, that ABC show.
Oh, yeah.
Annie Dudek, Mad Men. I mean, it was Tracy Walters. I mean, the cast was incredible. And they all worked for $125 a day, which was the SAG minimum because they loved the script so much. That's cool. So we started shooting, and it was a rough shoot. It was a very rough shoot just because of locations. We did go to Vegas for some stuff. We got to shoot on the Strip, hanging out of cars. So that was some fun stuff. But normally 110 degrees and my fat ass sweating like a dog. It was great. I had blood soaked on me half the time, but it was awesome. And then, it came out and we ended up winning. The first thing we went to was I think it was Portland. It could be Seattle. I forget, maybe Seattle Film Festival. And I was actually shooting a film in Chicago. So I left Chicago to go there to just be at the screening because they, put a face that, a familiar face. So I get a call. I spend the day in the middle of the screening. I leave, go back to the airport, fly back to Chicago because I have to shoot at Wrigley the next day at Wrigley Field. And I get a call from one of the producers and he said, we won. I said, won what? He goes, I'm not sure, but people seem really excited. He goes, hold on. And then he goes, what did we win? He goes, I think everything. I go, what are you talking? Anyway, we won the big prize. Nice. So I flew back to Seattle so I could be there for the award ceremony. Anyway, so the movie did, I just couldn't be prouder of it. And critically, it was, people seem to be happy with what I did and blah, 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 blah. Because you never know, and it's because it's so dark. I could see some people going, oh, no, I can't see him doing this. And no, he's Jerry. But that didn't happen. Because, there's always that fear as an actor, you're going to be labeled a character like Bob Denver, who played Gilligan, always said, I couldn't break away. Thankfully, that's not been the case. I've done many things since parts. So I'm grateful because that would be tough. But then I also think, Jerry will probably, unless some other role comes along that changes all that, Jerry will be what I'm known for. Yeah. And I couldn't be prouder. That's okay. That's okay. But I'm glad it didn't stop me from getting other work. That would not be.
Is there anywhere you can find that movie, The Middleman?
It used to be all over Netflix. I don't think it's there. I believe it might be on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I'm not 100% sure. It's called Middleman.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah, because it sounds up my alley.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that. Because sounds kind of slightly dark and everything. That's kind of what I tend to do when I'm an independent filmmaker myself, so I tend to try to go in there.
You'll appreciate it. Let me know what you think after you see it. You'll appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to say before we leave here today?
I don't know when this will be out there, but vote.
Yeah.
Please vote. Again, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. It's very obvious who I'm voting for. I will tell you I'm voting for Biden. So, but I'm not telling people to do that. I can't. I'm not that presumptuous. But I will say every vote matters. So I can just beg people to please vote. And don't anybody get complacent. My fear with what's happening now is I'm seeing every poll is showing that Biden can't lose. Well, you know what? I read those polls 4 years ago.
Yeah,
and those polls did not pan out. Same thing. So to me, the polls, they lift my spirits. They make me feel better. But I know they're not the be-all, end-all. We've got to get everybody out there. If you got to get your neighbor, pick up your neighbor. If you got to, whatever you got to do. And again, you can vote for the other guy. I don't know how, but you can. I'm not telling you can't. I'm just saying, let your vote be counted. We are in a country that get to vote. Yeah. What a gift. What an honor. So to not do it, I've never understood.
I mean, it's so sad, where there's about half the country that doesn't vote sometimes.
Doesn't vote. And I've been a registered independent. I think since I've registered. So I'm not even a party guy.
No.
But I can tell you for the first time in my life, when I vote on November 3rd, I am voting a party. I've never done that. Never. Yeah. I vote individually. But because of what I've seen them do in the past 4 years and what they've allowed him to do, sorry, no. I can't stick around. Can't stick around for that. So normally voting takes me a while because I go in with my sheet of paper because I looked up this. Now, no. Democrat. Boom. And I hope in 4 years from now, I get to go back to my old routine where I'm, basing it on individual and what they believe.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, the major thing I find disheartening about this country is the fact that we do have a two-party system where it's just people fighting. It's like they treat it like a football game as opposed to
isn't that a shame?
Yeah, because it should be caring about the people of the country and not if I'm going to win or lose.
And the thing is, again, I go on and on, try not to. You listen to a man who it's on paper that he's lied over 25,000 times, lied to us, admitted on tape. He downplayed a pandemic. He should have upplayed it. He should have scared us.
Yeah.
This would be over had we been scared. People weren't scared. So it's okay. No. Oh, a mask. That's ridiculous. It's a hoax. I don't need a mask. Okay. There you go. Chris Christie, 7 days in the ICU because that dumbass went to the White House. Yeah. Craziness.
Herman Cain died. So yeah,
Herman Cain died.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Herman Cain died of a hoax.
Yeah. But anyways,
So that's it. My last words are go vote.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for your time. This was a pleasure. Hope to talk to you again sometime. If you ever have anything you want to talk about, let me know.
Thanks, Mike. This was a lot of fun. Check out Middleman.
I will for sure. You have a good night.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was me talking to Jim O'Hare about everything from Parks and Rec to his start at Second City and a bunch of other things. That was a pretty cool interview. And as Jim says, make sure you get out there and vote, people. It's important. Doesn't matter who you.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter who you vote for, I guess. But
well, it does.
It does to me. But I'm just saying, you have this right. We as Americans have the right to vote, and
yes,
we should do it.
You should.
Yes.
See, it does matter who you vote for, but it's even if you vote for the wrong person, you should at least care that you actually do have the right to vote for the wrong person in a fledgling democracy.
Yes.
I mean, in a fragile state, as people who study international relations call it. But yeah, so you should really not take for granted that you'll be able to do that.
You do have the right to be on the wrong side of history.
Yes, right now.
But but the thing is, really, if you vote for the wrong person, you might not have that right anymore. But
yes.
Also, I'm not going to say who I'm voting for.
Right, either.
No, I'm just going to say who I'm not voting for.
Yes.
And
I mean, hell, I might write in Andrew Yang at this point. Who, I'm not going to, but
yes.
I loved his campaign, and I read his book, The War on Normal People, and I was like, this guy makes a lot of sense. I like this guy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I might write in Jim O'Hare. No, wait, you probably shouldn't do that.
There you go.
No, because I'll be the only person, but it'll be okay. Well, I don't know, maybe not. Because honestly, we've had an actor in office before. And we've had a game show host in office for the last 4 years. So it's all good,
It's all good.
So basically what I'm saying is Kanye 2020. Oh, wait, no, I'm not.
That kind of surprised me there. Kanye, needs to take his medicine. And I'm not one of these people that uses mental illness as a joke or to insult someone.
No, but he's serious.
You have a sickness. He has a sickness, and he needs to take care of himself instead of just wishing that he doesn't have an illness and just living the life he wants to live and destroying himself and everyone around him.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say, let's dump Trump, and beyond that, wait, did I say that out loud? Yes, I did. Uh-oh. So, so I don't want to get political or anything here, Matt. Wait.
Oh, no, of course not. No. It's not like we ever do that on any of our episodes when we're not even talking about politics. We're talking about, like, honey, we shrunk ourselves, and somehow a political rant finds its way into that.
Yes, that's what we do here. But I guess that's appropriate because Jim O'Hare was on a TV show about politics, Parks and Recreation. Was pretty much about politics. So
it was literally about politics. Yes.
And if only we had real people like Leslie Knope in office, and maybe the world would be a better place. Yeah,
someone who cares that much about her little post, in a small town. It's like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but it means a whole lot to her in her small town. And she's going to do the job exactly as it's the way it's supposed to be. It is. She's a very great role model for that kind of thing.
Yes, she is. And Jerry became the mayor at the end of that thing, too. So, Jim O'Hare does have political experience. So,
yeah, so there you go.
So there we go.
He played a mayor on a TV show. And
yes.
Albeit at the end of the TV series. But,
yes.
I mean, that's what Trump became a millionaire by convincing people that he was a millionaire and being a great businessman, and then that TV show actually made him a millionaire. So why not? Why
Yes.
not have illusion become reality? So
Yes. Delusions of Grandeur 2020.
Oh god, we're gonna have so many alt-right people downvoting this video.
That's fine. That's fine. At least they'll listen.
Yeah.
So, anyways, seriously though, folks, get out there, vote, do your civic duty. If you're listening in another country where the American election doesn't affect you, I am jealous. And
Yeah.
but you should probably go out and vote in your country too when you have your elections. So it's probably not a bad thing to do. If you live in a democracy where they allow you to vote, do it. Also, check out some of the links that we have in the show notes to help out people during COVID and help people out with Black Lives Matter and things of that nature. It's very important, that we just respect one another, love one another, and do good, people.
Do good and understand history and stuff like that. And yeah.
Yes. And
just saying, just understand history a little bit. It's not hard.
and also watch Jim O'Heir's movie Middleman,
Yeah.
because it looks good. I have yet to see it, but I'm planning to watch it very soon. So, anyways, for now, I have been Michael E. Cullen II.
And I have been Matthew. What am I gonna say this time? Matthew Tums Haas. I got a bottle of Tums in front of me, so that's why I said it.
Okay. I'll call you Tom.
I don't have heartburn. I just saw the bottle in front of me. So.
Well, first you have to have a heart. Oh, just joking.
Oh my God! I don't. Oh God! I've been burned.
All right. Anyways, everybody, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Haas. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.